So welcome. We're going to look at queuing models. These are models which are used to manage queues. Okay, they're used to manage queues. What is a queue? Queue is a line of people or line of things arranged for purposes of they are arranged in order to receive a certain service. There's a service at the end of the line that must be received. So for instance, you can have a queue of people maybe going to receive, let's say, maybe students going to receive food, okay, like from the dining room, okay, maybe there are people who are lining up to go and receive food, or probably it could be the people, customers who are lining up to go to a bank teller to be served, or to go to an ATM machine to receive the service, you know. Or it could be a line of vehicle owners who are lining up to join the garage so their cars can be serviced. So the queue can be of different nature, okay? So as long as there's a queue, then there must be a way of managing that particular queue. So today, we're going to look at how such kind of queues can be managed. Now, what is important here is that we need to first understand that there are different terminologies that are used in the study of queues. First and foremost, we look at what is terminology here, which we call balking. This is a scenario of somebody leaving the queue for one reason or the other. But the common scenario is whereby somebody comes, views the queue, and the queue is quite too long for them to remain in the queue. I say, no, you know what? I can't be in this queue. Let me move. Probably I'll come back later, or maybe I'll go to the next available service provider. Okay? So the balking is of two types. We have what we call the forced balking and the voluntary balking. The voluntary balking is whereby actually somebody decides to leave on his or her own after realizing the queue is too long. Right? Now, we have the other component called forced balking. In forced balking here, we're looking at the scenario whereby probably you are the only service provider and you have a limited number of people you can serve or you can allow to be in the queue at a given point in time. Okay, so because you have a fixed number of people you can allow to be in the queue, whoever does not fit that particular number is automatically forced to leave until the number is reduced. Take an example like you're going to receive service, maybe in the bank, okay, and maybe this bank is kind of executive banking hall, whereby you're supposed to sit on the chairs, and if maybe the chairs are about 20 of them, so if the 20 chairs are all fully occupied, you're requested to stand outside until that time when there's at least one more space available for a new person to come in and sit. They don't allow people to stand in the banking hall. In such a scenario, therefore, we talk of forced balking, whereby the queue is restricted. I can give an example of a banking hall which requires people to sit down. They are provided with chairs, okay? So that is another way of managing the queue. So provide them with chairs, but now you say we don't want people to stand, which means if the chairs are fully occupied, exhausted, in other words, any additional person will have to wait outside, okay, until there's space for an additional person to sit in. Now that's an example of forced balking. So when you wait outside, you can either decide to wait until your turn's coming and you get in, or you can decide to leave, you know. So you're forced to leave, not because of your own choice, but because of the rules available, whereby the queue is restricted to a specific number of people. And in this particular discussion, we shall refer to that number of people as n. That n number of people, okay? Now, the other terminology which we're going to look at is what we call reneging. Reneging is whereby it is about living as well, as you can see from the document we see here, okay? But this is living, but after someone has joined. You know, there's leaving before you join, that's balking. There's leaving after you have joined, that is reneging. What it means here is that when someone joins the line, waits for about 5 to 10 minutes to see how the line is moving, and if it is very probable that the line is extremely slow compared to the person's earlier anticipation, then this person will say, you know what, I think I can't wait any longer, let me move. I'll either come back later, or probably I will try as much as possible, maybe to try the next available service provider, or maybe another branch if it's a bank. Okay, that's reneging. Then we have what we call jockeying. Jockeying is another terminology which we use in the queuing models. Okay, this is whereby someone keeps changing lines, especially if there are multiple serving points. If there are multiple serving points whereby you have, let's say, teller 1 and teller 2, teller 3, teller 4, and this person keeps realizing that I think teller 1, the service is moving very fast, so I think I should join teller 1, or I join teller 2, or I join teller 3. Okay, but this is only possible in the first 10 minutes of joining the queue, because ideally, if this person is has 3 or 4 people behind him or her, they can easily switch. But if the number of people behind him or her increases to about 10, then it becomes difficult to switch, because if you switch, the new line you're going to will become the last. Okay, so you find that it becomes more beneficial to remain in your line. So jockeying also has its own limits. In other words, it has its own limits. You can only do that in the first few minutes of joining the queue. But after you have joined the queue and you settle in a particular line, it becomes difficult to do the jockeying. Now that I've talked of the 3 key terminologies, we can move on and we look at the different types of queuing models that can be studied. Alright, so we have the diagram here. As you can see, this diagram here explains the different types of queuing models that can be there. We have what we call a single server queuing model. Single server queuing model, that means it is a queuing model whereby you have only one serving point. It's a queuing model where we have only one serving point. But you have another queuing model where you can have multiple serving points. A good example of a queuing model with multiple serving points is, like I gave an example earlier, a banking system, whereby you have 3 or 4 tellers. Okay, so they have multiple serving points. But if you are a queuing model whereby there is only one person to serve, like for instance in the food serving point, whereby the person in charge of the dishes is at a single window, and everybody is coming to receive food from that very single window, like in prison, such kind of a scenario, we talk of a single server queuing model, Or probably if you are in a kiosk, okay, you have a kiosk, you have a clients lining up to come and to get service from that particular kiosk. It's different from the supermarket, okay. Then that's such a scenario talk of a single server model. So whether single server model or multiple server model, what is important to note here is that a queuing model can either be a finite queuing model or an infinite queuing model. The finite queuing model, we're talking about the length of the queue, Now, when the length of the queue is limited, like for instance, you say, no, my queue should not exceed, let's say, 20 people at any given point in time. Okay, if there are so many people, okay, they wait outside. Like I gave an example of forced balking earlier. Okay, so such a scenario, we talk of a finite queue length, whereby we're saying we are limiting on the number of people who should be in a queue at a given point in time. But an infinite queue length is whereby it is not, you cannot easily limit them. Like for instance, when you're going to see a doctor, okay, you find that the line cannot be limited because the patients, you can't limit patients to the number of patients who should be in a waiting room at a given point in time. Yes, you can say you're going to give them schedules, you're going to give them, let's say, time appointments and whatever, but you see, their appointments can be as many as possible, So such kind of scenario, any walk-in can be given an appointment. Then you talk of an infinite queue length. It can't be limited, So that's what we mean by 2 types of queuing models. One is whereby you have a finite queuing model, whereby you have a finite queue length, and the other one is whereby you have an infinite queue length. Okay? All right, so we proceed. We being in the business, the main focus of this particular discussion is from the business point of view. We are going to compute. Okay, we're going to compute. But in the process of computing, our focus is not on the derivation of the formulas, but our focus is on using the formulas that are in existence to provide solutions, business solutions. Okay, so we're going to look at the key things to look at in the queuing models, all right, and then those things we shall also look at how they can be computed, and then from there we shall look at an example. Right, let's start from here. One of the things we're going to be looking at as part of the computations is the length of the system. Length of the system refers to the number of people present in the queuing system. What we mean here is that we have people waiting in the queue, and you have the one person who is being served. This is the case of a single server model. Actually, this discussion is centered on the single server model. We shall have another discussion which will be centered on the multiple server model. But for now, let's focus on the single server model. So when we talk of the length of a system, we mean the number of people who are in the queuing system. This refers to the total number of people in the queue waiting to be served, plus one person who is being served. So the total becomes the length of the queue, or the length of the system, which we call LS. Okay. Now the LQ, which is the next terminology you see there, is the length of the queue still, but this excludes the person who is being served. It excludes the person who is being served. So we should also look at how we compute that particular terminology as well. There is a way you can compute it. There are formulas for that. Okay. Then we have another one which we call the waiting time in the system. The waiting time in a system is the time taken for someone to wait in the queue, get served, and leave. Okay, wait in the queue, get served, and leave. Now, related to it is what we call the waiting time in the queue. This is the time taken for someone to wait in the queue until that point is ready to be served. Okay, until that point is ready to be served. So WQ is waiting in the queue before you get served. WS is waiting in the queue, get served, and leave. So ideally, the WS is expected to be longer as compared to WQ. WS is expected to be longer as compared to WQ, as we're going to see in an example. Now, the other item we are interested in is the probability. Probability of n number of people in the system. N number of people in the system is like we are going to look at the difference between the small n and the big N, and as we start looking at the formulas, we shall see that there is a difference between the small n and the big N. But now, when looking at the small n here, we mean the probability of having a certain number of people in the queuing system. For instance, we are saying if the queuing system, let's say, can we have 2 people, 3 people, 5 people, 6 people, 10 people, 100 people, it can have any length, right? Depending on the condition that it's not restricted. The restricted queue is the one which we call the finite, the one here, finite length. This is the restricted one. Okay, so when you talk of probability, we're trying to find out how many people are going to be in the queuing system, okay, at a particular point in time. Not how many, but the probability of having a certain number of people. The probability of having a certain number of people. So you may say, I want to find the probability of having 5 people in the queue, and the probability of having no people in the queue. What's the probability of having, let's say, 1 person in the queue? What's the probability of having, let's say, 20 people in the queue? All those things are taken into consideration by using this particular probability computation. Now, all these items, we talk of LS, LQ, WS, WQ plus PN. PN is probability of n people in the system, are based on two main variables. The first variable is what we call lambda. Okay, we call lambda here. The second variable is what we call mu. Lambda is a distribution. It's a distribution which reflects the arrival rate of the person to be served. Okay, the arrival rate of the person to be served is what we call the lambda. The rate at which someone gets served, is what we call mu. Here, the rate at which someone gets served is mu. The rate at which someone arrives is lambda. Okay, now here we're trying to say that when you compare these two, then you're able to give us all the other answers we're looking for. We're trying to find out at what rate is the person arriving, like in an hour, how many people arrive in the system, in other words. And the mu looks at in an hour, how many people do you get out there? You have served them, they move out. Okay, so that is the mu. Okay, now the mu follows an exponential distribution, whereas the lambda follows the Poisson distribution. So let's go straight into the formulas and see how these formulas are utilized. So this is the first item, as you can see here. The first item, we are looking at the ratio of arrival rate to service rate, which is given by a symbol rho. This symbol here is called rho. It's a Greek symbol, and is obtained by using this particular formula, lambda divided by mu. And now this is going to be the case whether it is a finite population or an infinite population. The formulas for the first item do not change. As you can see, they do not change. Then when we come to the second component, we're seeing probability of not having anyone in the queue. That's probability of 0. According to the finite population scenario, is given by this formula here. Probability of 0 is equal to 1 minus rho divided by 1 minus rho power n plus 1. Now here, be careful. This n here is not the n equals to 0. No. This n here is the n which focuses on the restricted number, the queue length, the n here. You see the n here? This n here is what is referred to as this n here. So when you're multiplying, you don't focus on the probability of n. Now you focus on the restriction provided in the queue. Like in case what you're dealing with is a finite population, then you should know how many people should be in a queuing system at a given point in time. After you have known that, now that's the number, the n you're going to be using throughout your computation. So whenever you find a big n like this, just notice for restriction. Okay, it's for restriction. Now, probability of having 0 when the restriction is different from the probability of having 0 when there's no restriction. The same applies to the next formula, probability of having n people in a system. Okay, it is given by that particular formula, as you can see. 1 minus rho divided by 1 minus, no, it is supposed to be probability of n is this one here, whereby it's rho power n divided by, rho power n times probability of 0. But probability of 0 is not obtained from up here, so just importing it from here, we post it down here. Okay, now the same applies to this other section, but the formula for the probability of not 0 is different. Therefore, you can see probability of 0 is 1 minus rho here. It is the same as 1 minus rho here. The same applies to this one here. This one here. The same as this one here. Okay, now we move on. We have the other formula there. That one is the probability of the expected number of people in the queuing system. That is LS. Okay, so when there is the restricted number, the formula is different from when there is no restriction. Okay, then from there you have what we call the LQ. LQ now is related to to WQ by the lambda. Okay, so LQ is equal to lambda times WQ, and this doesn't change. It does not change in relation to whether the system is a finite system or the infinite system. So whatever the case the system is, the formulas will remain intact. Now, basic ideas of the formulas are going to be using. Okay, and one thing you're supposed to remember is that there's what we call effective arrival rate, which is lambda EFF, as you can see it here, effective arrival rate. Why this one is important is because when you restrict the number of people to n, that means the arrival may still be lambda, correct, but it may not be as effective as it used to be because there is a restriction. So you need to find out what's the effective arrival. Then arrival rate, and then that one will give you the arrivals, effective arrivals when there is restriction. But when there is no restriction, the normal formulas are used to get what? The rate of arrival. Okay, and how that rate of arrival can be translated into waiting time in the system and waiting time in the queue. Alright? Right, so now let's look at an example, and maybe this example will help us to understand what we are talking about here. So we have this one here. We shall get these assumptions later. Okay, so maybe if we go to an example, let's look at assumptions. I wanted to just jump this section, but let's first look at the assumptions. The assumptions say that in any queue, the rate at which someone gets served is higher than the rate at which a new client joins the queue. That's the assumption we say. But you see, in reality, it may not be the same. The rate at which someone gets served may or may not be higher than the rate at which someone arrives. Okay, in reality, that's how it is. But for the purpose of this particular question, we do that assumption so that we are able to do the correct computations. Okay. Now, the ratio of lambda to mu is always less than 1, and also an organization has only one service point. That is why for this particular discussion, we are saying we are dealing with a single server. Okay, single server. But in the next discussion, we shall look at multiple servers. Multiple servers. All right. So let's look at the question. The question goes as follows. Okay, a few minutes for you to read through. So here we see that this is about MOOCs. Because of the continuous system breakdown, management decided to resort to physical registration of students for the new semester that began in January 2022. Initial analysis of the registration process revealed that, on average, 9 students arrive for registration every 1 hour. Now, take note, these 9 students arrive every 1 hour. That is lambda, arrival rate. Lambda. Okay? In the same 1 hour, the office of the registrar is able to serve 13 students. That is a mu. Service rate, the rate at which someone gets served and leaves the system, is a mu. So now that we have done these 2 items, we are able to answer the question. Number 1 is, what is the probability that there is no queue at the office of the registrar? Now this, there is a formula for doing that, so we're going to look at that as well. Okay, so what is the probability that there are at least 4 students in a queuing system, inclusive of the person being registered? So 4 students in a queuing system, at least, when you talk of at least, that means it is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, up to n. Now, in probability, to do such kind of question, you first have to compute the probability of 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? I suppose compute probability of 0, 1, 2, 3, and then you subtract that from 1. Okay, and then you get the answer that you're looking for. Okay, so we're going to do this ones together. What's the expected number of students in the queuing, excluding the student being registered? We're also going to do that one together. What's the expected number of students in the queuing? Now, this is excluding the students in the being registered. This is WQ. Sorry, LQ, not WQ, LQ. Expected number. Then expected number of students, including the person. That's LS. Number E, what's the average waiting time in the queue? That's WQ. And number F, how much time is student expected to be in this queue? Okay, how much time? We're trying to compute time now. We shall look at this one as well. And then lastly, we're going to look at the last part. We're asking you whether the answers of your answers of A to F will change if the registrar instructs that only 15 students should be in the awaiting lodge. Now this is whereby you have the final population. Okay, so we're going to find out about those things, okay, one by one as part of our solution. Okay. Right. Write here solution. Part A. I prefer if I do this one in a tabular format. Use a table. Okay, so now I have that particular beginning point. So we start with A. I'm going to use the table as I said, So it can easily, because you see in part G, they ask you if the situation would change if there was a restriction. So we need to capture that part as well in our discussion. We need to capture that part in our discussion to show whether there will be change in the results or in our answers if that particular scenario is brought into consideration. Okay. Brought into consideration. Okay. So let's begin. I'm going to draw. So this is the question number. Question number. This we shall say solution. Solution when solution when n equals to when there is no restriction. First of all, when there is no restriction, okay. Then we have solutions when there is no restriction. When there is a restriction, sorry. So we're going to have this. So now, begin. A. So here told that, okay, what is the probability that there is no queue at the office of the registrar? When there is no queue, that means probability equals to 0. Probability equals to 0. So you come here and look at the formulas of probability equals to 0. You see that they are here. Depending on what kind of scenario you're in. So thing is that we can compute the different items of the queuing model, okay? And what we're interested in basically is to be able to answer the different questions which are key in the queuing model, and these are the questions which we talked about earlier, and we have gone through these formulas, and I remember explaining to you earlier that we have what we call lambda and mu, and how lambda and mu can be used to compute all these items you see here. So you need to pay attention to these formulas here. So in a minute, I want you to look through these formulas carefully, because the formulas are going to guide our discussion in the queuing model. Okay. WS, we saw it earlier. Waiting time in the system. WQ, you saw it earlier. Waiting time in the queue. LQ is the length of the queue itself, without taking into consideration the person being served. LS is the length of the whole system, like number of people who are in the system, those who are waiting to be served, including the person being served in the single server model. Okay, so let's look at the question. Let's look at and see how these formulas can be utilized. Okay, Let's look at the question and see how this is supposed to be capital N. As I told you earlier, there's a difference between small n and capital N. Yeah, there's a very big difference. Okay, this big N here refers to the restriction of the Q length N, and this small n here refers to the probabilities you're trying to compute. Okay. Alright, I'm going to show you how these are going to be different, and I think we had reached this particular point earlier, whereby we'll try to provide a solution. Alright, so what is the probability that there is no queue at the office of the registrar? This is the probability of the number of people being 0, probability of n at n equals to 0. Okay? So, part A of the question, what we're interested in is probability of n where n equals to 0, where n equals to 0. So when we are dealing with no restriction, we have a formula here: probability of 0 people in the system. This n becomes 0 here, sorry. There is a formula. Just to make sure that I'm on the right track. Yeah, it's okay now. So we have a formula up here, and this formula, we are dealing with the infinite population first. Okay, so we shall capture this formula here. There. Then for solution when there is a restriction, that means the value of n is provided. The same request of probability of equals to 0 will be yes computed, but this time round with a special interest on n. Here we are. So I'll copy this formula and I'll place it here. Okay, I'll place it there. So I have something like this. Yeah, so something like this. Now we're going to compute these particular probabilities. Here is where there is a restriction. Okay, here there is no restriction. Here we're supposed to specify that, you see, look at question G. They're saying that if the registrar instructs that only 15 students should be in the waiting lounge, such that any additional students remain outside until the number of students waiting in the lounge becomes 14, means there is a restriction. And this restriction is the queue length should be finite at n equals to 15. Okay, so there is a small n whereby it equals to 0, but now with the restriction we have n equals to 15. We have to consider that one as well. Okay, we have to consider that one as well. Correct. So now let's go ahead and see. Okay, now we have to know in both cases the value of rho is known. What is lambda divided by mu? Okay, so what we are going to do in this first scenario of probability of 0, okay, probability of 0, okay, this one here. Let me just play this one. Just capture this one. Copy, paste it down here. Okay, justification to the left. So we have this kind of scenario here. Okay, so but we know what rho is. Rho equals to lambda divided by mu, but in our question lambda is equal to we have given ourselves lambda here, which is 9, arrival rate 9, and service rate, the rate at which someone gets served and leaves the system, is 13 students being served in 1 hour. Alright, so this means we shall have in 1 hour, we shall have 9 divided by 13. Okay, like that. Okay, this will give us, from the quick computation here, we see that this becomes 4 out of 13, okay, which is essentially, if you are to use decimal places, this is 0.308, okay, 0.308, okay. Then the same applies to this other side. We shall say, okay, based on the way system is arranged there, we shall have this particular formula replicated down here, okay. It is down here. Then we replace it with the figures we want. Okay, so this being part of the formula, it becomes easy for me to adjust these figures. I don't know why this one is playing with my head. A minute. There we go. So I'm going to do a design. I'm going to do this. To import this particular item here. Okay. So you know, row is 9 out of 13. This is 9 out of 13 here. The same applies to down, this row down here, so I'm just going to capture this one here and I replace the one down here. I get down to 13, and n is given to me as 15 up here. The capital N is 15, so I'll replace this n here, okay, as 15. Now, when I solve this particular system of the equation here, sorry, what is this now? When I solve this one, this will give me, now of course you have to solve it to save time. I have already gotten my computations ready here. So when you solve this particular system of equation, you should be able to get the answer as 0.309. So you can do it yourself later on, okay, and see how this particular solution is obtained, okay. So that is the answer, 0.309, but that is how we compute it. So you can see when there is a restriction of 15 members to be in the system, and when there is no restriction, that is infinite length, this is finite length, we realize that the probability of not having anybody in the system, okay, is almost the same. Okay. Now these probabilities can be expressed as percentages. Okay, they can be expressed as percentages. You can simply say this is the same as 30.8%. Okay, and here down we can simply say this is the same as 30.9%. What does this mean therefore? It means that 30.9% of the times when the population, so when the queue length is restricted, there will be nobody in the system. Okay, in other words, the system will be empty. Any person will be free to come in and get served by the registrar. Alright, that's what this one means. Okay, now next, part B of our question, what does it say? What is the probability that there are at least 4 students in the queuing system, inclusive of the person being registered? Okay, so part B, we are saying at least 4. At least 4. At least 4 means 4, 5, 6, etc. up to n, which we don't know. Okay, so we shall say therefore probability of at least 4, okay, will be equal to 1 minus probability of 0, okay, open brackets here and put them together, or probability of 0 plus probability of 1 plus probability of 2 plus probability of 3. So when you subtract this one, we shall be able to get our answer. Okay, we shall be able to get our answer. So what am I doing? Okay, now this is becoming interesting. Here we go. I just want to edit this one to 0. Yeah, this is 0. So we have this one. This is 1, 2, and 3 here. Okay, and these all are going to be subscripts here. So I'm going to compute these four probabilities, and then I add them together, subtract them from 1, and then the answer I get will be probability of having at least 4 people, okay, in the system. And I'll do this for both the infinite population and the finite population. Okay, the infinite population and the finite population. There we go. Just the purpose of you to be able to see what is happening. I've just done like some few settings there so that this can be repeating itself everywhere. So we shall start with the probability of the first item is probability of 0. Okay, this is already known to us. We don't have to compute it again. Just paste it here. Okay, which is equal to what? On this other side is equal to 0.308. We have that one already. So we shall compute probability of 1. Probability of 1. Okay, we shall go to compute probability of 1. Okay, that's the second part you're going to deal with. Probability of 1 is probability the same as probability of n. So we shall use probability of n same formula, which is here. So we're going to capture that particular formula and we paste it down here. Probability of, okay, that's it. So our n is 1. Our n is 1. So if we say this probability of n equals to 1, this becomes probability of 1 here. Means rho becomes the power of, so rho is now taken to power 1. Okay. Now this particular formula will help us. Okay. So this shall be equal to, let me see, am I doing the right thing? I think I'm doing the right thing. Okay. Okay. Let me just copy this one and paste it here so it can be on the same page, correct? This one, I'm going to delete it. I don't need it anymore because I tried to look for it. It failed to come by itself. Now, there we go. Correct. Now, so our row here equals to, I'm going to change this one into a fraction. Okay, so it is equal to 9 out of 13. But we already have P naught. P naught is 0.308, so we can just change this one into 0.308. Okay. Now, if you saw this particular set of equation, probability of 1 from that particular system will become I'm just computing right now. Become 36 out of 169. And just put it this way. 36 divided by 169. Okay, which will be equal to, if I use the calculator here, 36 divided by 169, which gives you 0.213. Now, since this is a long equation, I'm going to put all these decimal places you see here. So it's 0.213017775. I'm going to put it there. 0.213017775. 0.213017775. So that's probability of 1. Okay, probability of 1, and we now go to the next probability of 2. So we shall repeat this particular process. Probability of 2. Paste it down here. This time around, this becomes 2. this becomes 2 here. And when I say 2, I mean 2 for the entire procedure. Let me just show you here what I mean. If I remove this one here, okay, and I come to my design section here and I put formula, and then we just do this, and then I just put that one there. So what I mean is 9 divided by 13, okay? So maybe I will do the same thing up here so that we can have the same thing up there, okay? So that's it. Now, this particular process, if you were to do this, this will give me, if I were to do this one here, I'll say 9 divided by 13, it gives me that figure there. Then this square, you square it, get that one there, then you multiply it by 0.308, okay, which gives me 0.147, just a minute, 0.147621. It's a long thing, but I'm just going to pick, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 5. I'm going to pick 5 items as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'll pick 8 items. You just copy this whole thing, and I just approximate it to 8 items. It's very long, as you can see. So I'll just remove 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 here. The rest I delete. Okay, so we have simplified it that way. Okay, so that's probability of 2. Now let's go to probability of 3. Okay, probability of 3. Okay, so this one. Probability of 0, probability of 1, probability of 2, now probability of 3. The probability of 3 is the last we're going to compute. And then we subtract everything from 1. So let's do it again, the same procedure. Copy this one. This time around, this is 3. 3 here. Okay. Alright, so let's see what answer we're going to get. So we're going to bring our formula, apply in the calculator. This is 9 divided by 13, and this should be raised to power 3. Gives that one, then times 0.308. It gives us this particular answer. So we copy it again and we paste it here. Okay, and as usual, we shall be able to pick on the first, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think I made a mistake here, but nevertheless, it can still be computed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So since the next number is 2, let's make it 3 here and include the others. So now we have our 3 items here. 4 items. Probability of 0, 1, 2, 3. We shall subtract it from 1. Okay. So when you add these items here, we shall be able to see. Now I'm adding these 4 items here. I'm adding them. This should give me an answer that I'm looking for. But before I subtract it from 1, okay. So we shall have here. Okay. We shall have this. So we shall have 0.308 plus, that's probability of 0. Probability of 1 is 0.213017775, okay, plus probability of 2, which is 0.147621302, okay. Probability of, that is probability of what? 2. Then I add probability of 3, which is 0.147621302. 102,199,363. Together, I have this figure here. So I copy it and I paste it here. Alright? Then after getting this figure here, the next thing I'm going to do is to get probability of at least 4. So we come back to this particular formula of ours, which we had earlier started with. Okay, so we shall say probability of at least 4 is equal to that one. We already have the answer to this particular part in brackets, so we now put our figure there. Okay, so we shall say this one here comes in, and we replace it with this one here. So final probability of at least 4, probability of at least 4 will become we subtract this one and we get the figure we're looking for. So this should be minus 1, which gives you that one, but it's negative, of course. You know, it's negative because I've subtracted 1 from it. So the answer should actually be positive. Okay, so ideally what you should have done is do 1 minus 0.770838415. Okay, 770838415, which gives us that one. So this is the probability we're looking for of at least 4, and we can approximate it. Okay, so you can say this is a roughly, if I were to put in 3 decimal places, it will become 0.229. So you can conclude saying that 22.9% of the times, okay, there will be at least four students in the queuing system. That's how we conclude that. There will be at least 4 students in the queuing system. There are at least 4 students in the queuing system. Okay. Now that is how we end up that particular part. So we are going to do the same procedure, but this time round we are going to do the procedure on this other side, whereby we have a restriction of n. Okay. What is important to note here is that the formulas are the same. So I think I just need to copy this part here, and I paste it this way, and I change just a few things. Okay, this becomes a 9. This is a 9. So this being a 9, this particular procedure does not change. The only thing which changes is this one 9 here. It becomes a 9. I think what I should have done is to push this one down. Okay, so that I make it a bigger page. Okay, that's what I'm going to do right now. So that we don't have to really suffer with these things here. Okay, so it's okay now, it's bigger. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is to edit. I'm going to edit the formula, and we shall get something similar to what we have already got already. Okay, so that we can be able to get the solution. So this, we change this one to 9. 9. And then we get new answers here. We shall check if these answers are significantly different or not significantly different from what we earlier got. Okay. Right. So you can see here. Let me remove this part here. It may not be necessary. To there. Okay. So we have that particular section now, and then we shall go to edit this part here as well. We also don't know whether what else we're going to get. We don't have this part here. We are yet to find out. Okay. What I subtract, we shall know just a few minutes from now. Okay, so those are the answers we're expecting. Now, let's use the calculator as usual. So we have our calculator here ready. So 9 out of 13, 9 out of 13 equals to that figure there. Then multiply by 0.309, you get 0.2. Let's copy this one and maintain, as what I said earlier, we maintain 8 decimal places. This is 3, this is 6, 7, 8. So 7, 8 gives us 8 here. And we delete the rest. Okay. Then you do the same to the next. So the next we have 9 divided by 12. Okay. That's 9 divided by, oh, it's good, 9, sorry. It's supposed to be 9 divided by 13, not 12. 9 divided by 13. Okay. Then this is squared. This is squared. So we shall square it. Okay. Then multiply by 0.309, which gives me that figure over there. So you can see they're not very different from the previous answers. They're not very different from the previous answers. So again, we are going to pick 8 decimal places. 3, 6, 7, 8. And as you can see, the next number is 1, so we shall not disturb ourselves with that figure there. So okay, we shall have it the way it is. Then we are going to have the third item. Third item is again the same thing. So we shall have again 9 divided by 13 power 3. Okay, that's the number 3, of course, power 3. Get that particular answer. Then times 0.309, which gives you that figure over there. Again, we're going to copy this and you paste it here. Pick the first 8. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can see this is going to change from to 8 because of the approximation. Okay, and we, okay, something not right here. That's fine. Correct. So we have that figure there. So now when we add this particular 0.309 plus this plus this plus this, we get a final figure here that we want to handle. Okay, this one here. So let me use a calculator and we add the 4 figures. So 0.309 plus 0.21392308, sorry, 08 plus 0.148 plus 0.102 gives me the answer as 0.773. Okay, so you can see it's not very far from the earlier answer. Okay. Okay. So we have that figure there. Now when we subtract this one from 1, that's when we shall get our final answer that we are looking for. Okay. There. So I shall say, okay, 1 minus 0.773, okay, 554, okay, 85, which gives us 0.22226. Okay, here we go. And then this shall be approximately in 3 figures or in 3 decimal places, shall be 0.226. Okay, so if we were to capture the same conclusion we have made here, okay, we shall say that, okay, based on our computation, 22.6% of times, okay, there will be at least 4 students in the queuing system. Okay, okay. When considering considering a restriction of a queue length, to 15. When considering a restriction of a queue length to 15, okay, that would be our solution. Okay. Alright, so this is the thing. We're saying that, okay, now when we consider a queue length restriction to 15, number of people being 15 in the queue at a particular period of time, then the probability, the percentage probability actually, the probability of having at least 4 people, okay, is going to be lower as compared to when the queue length is infinite. Okay, at least 4 people will be slightly higher. The probability will be slightly higher compared to when there is a restriction to 15 people. So you can see that finite queue length has an impact on the probabilities you compute. Okay, but you can see this particular question, the impact is very, very minimal. All right, let's go look at question number C. Question number C is saying that what is the expected number of students in the queue excluding the student being registered? Now this is LQ. Now LQ and LS are computed almost at the same time. So we are going to compute C and D at the same time. Okay. So we're going to first compute LS, then we shall compute LQ after. So that is C and D. C and D at the same time. So we cannot compute LQ if you don't have LS. So we have to start with LS. So LS has a formula for infinite population. LS has a formula for infinite population, which is here. So we shall start from there. Okay. And we place this formula down here. As that. So if I have to copy this formula here, down here, and replace these figures, okay? Replace these figures, okay, let me see, yeah, here we go. And we say this one is okay, not that one. Just pick this one and replace it with this one, okay? So we shall say row, we know it is 9 out of 13, that is a row, okay? Even this one is 9 out of 13. So for this particular computation, okay, for this particular computation, you realize that the final answer you're going to get is now 9 out of 15, so 9 out of 13, sorry, so divided by 1 out of 9 out of 13, it gives you 9 out of 13 divided by 4 out of 13, which gives you 9 out of 4. Okay? It gives you 9 out of 4. The final answer will be 9 out of 4. 9 out of 4. Now, if I do the multiplication, the division, sorry, 9 out of 4 will be equal to 2.25. Okay, 2.25. Now, as I told you earlier, 2.25. Okay, this is a human being, so you can't have a quarter of a human being, so we should just simply say 2. So LS is 2. What does this mean, therefore? It means that the length of the system, the number of students, not the number, the expected number of students. Okay, the expected number of students. Okay, in a queue, including the person being served, okay, at a given point in time, okay, is 2. That's what this particular situation means. It is 2. Okay. Then from here you can quickly compute the LQ. Okay, we can quickly compute the LQ because first, based on the available formula which we have in the table here, LQ equals to LS minus rho. LQ equals to LS minus rho. Now we already have LS. This is for presentation purposes. This is for presentation purposes. So when you're going to compute, shall revert back to our answer. So if we revert back to our answer, this LS will become 9 out of 4. 9 out of 4. And then rho, you know rho is already in decimal, of course, so in fractions, which is 9 out of what? 9 out of 13. Okay. Now, if you were to solve this particular set of equation, okay, this will give you, let's go to the calculator here. We'll use the calculator. So we shall have 9 divided by 4, close, then subtract 9 divided by 13, again close, then say enter, which gives me 1.558. 1.558, which is approximately 1. Now this time I'm not going to carry forward because you see 1.55 you expect me to call it 2, but no, it's only because we cannot have half a human being, no. We cannot have half a student, no. So because of that, therefore, we have only one person, okay? Because we always, when you deal with discrete variables, we approximate to a lower value to a complete figure. Okay, so what does this mean, therefore? This answer means that the expected number of students in the queue, the expected number of students in the queue waiting to be served, in the queue waiting to be served is 1. So this clearly shows that the expected number of students in the queue shall be 2. One shall be one will be the one going to, actually in the process of being served, and the other will be waiting to be served. Okay, so this is what our computations have shown. But this is a situation whereby we have an infinite population length, sorry, queue length, infinite queue length. Now let's look at a scenario whereby we have finite queue length, whereby the end is restricted to 15. Okay, we have our formula there we are going to look at. Okay, we have our formula we're going to look at. So let's see the formula. Here we go. So this is a big formula, a scary formula, but don't worry, it's a very simple formula. Okay, so shall I copy this one and we paste it here. So as you see now, when you have restricted number, then you have that kind of formula over there, and I will allow you to do your personal computation. But so to simplify the work, I'll just give you the figures that are involved here. Okay, I'll give you the figures that are involved, and then you will be able to do the computation. Okay, so this is 9 out of 13. That's the value of rho. Our n is 15. You know it very well. So this is 15 here. Then our rho. So shall I put this one in brackets? Our rho is here, which is okay. Just a minute. Okay, just a minute. Let me see. What do we have here? Okay, that's fine. So yeah, it's okay. 9 out of 13. Okay, then this becomes 15 as well. So up here we have 15. Then this also becomes 15. Okay, down here we have 9 out of 13, so we shall use this particular formula here. So 9 out of 13, that's a raw value. This applies to this one here. 9 out of 13 again. 9 out of 13, but remember, this is 15 up here, which covers the whole thing, okay? So when you solve this particular system of equation, when you solve this, then you shall have this particular answer here. You shall have this answer here. And our LS, okay, when you solve that particular system of equation, our LS will become 2.21, which is again approximately 2. So you can see this particular set of this particular scenario, we have almost a similar output when, like before, of course. Okay, and from here we shall compute LQ. We shall compute LQ, and again we shall get back our formulas. Our formulas, LQ is given by this particular expression here. Okay, LQ is given by that particular expression, so I'm going to copy this whole thing up to there, and then we shall be able to simplify it further. Okay, so we shall be able to simplify it further, and we shall say that, okay, this is supposed to be LS equals to that, which means for you to get LQ, you subtract YEF divided by mu. And we know how to get YEF. We know how to get YEF. There's a formula again for YEF, which we have up here. So YEF is there. So we shall pick this YEF here. And remember what YEF is effective arrival rate. So we pick that one and we paste it down here. Okay. We shall also use this particular formula to compute what we are looking for. Now, lambda is 9. Lambda is 9. Okay. So we're supposed to go back and compute probability of n. The probability of n is here. Probability of n. So we shall say, okay, which means now we have many things to compute before we get LS. Before we get LQ, sorry. Before we get LQ. We have a number of things to compute. So we shall go back to probability of n. I'd like you to recall probability of n is up here. Let me show you what this one means. Okay, so this is what we mean here. This is n here, n, and this up here is n. But this time around, the n we are looking for is the big N. Okay, this being a big N shall be 15. Okay, so we shall see where n equals to n, which equals to 15, because our population, so our queue length is restricted to 15, so we're supposed to use that figure 15 to get what we are looking for. Right? Now, that in mind, having that in mind, so what we are going to do, we shall see, okay, probability, this particular probability we're looking for here, we shall change it now to capture the big N. So we're going to capture the big N as follows. So we shall say, okay, the big N is represented down here, like that. Even here, it is we put her up there. Okay, so after doing this now, we can now use the other formula, because we know what rho is. We know what rho is. So we can just pick any of these formulas here. Just pick this one here. Probably this one can work for us. Just pick it and leave it here, down here, and we use it for computation. So now we know our n is 15. It's 15 here. This is also 15 here. And we know what to multiply it with. Okay, we know what to multiply it with. So we come here and say, okay, use our calculator as usual. We shall say it is 9 divided by 13, gives you that figure there. Then the power 15 gives that figure there, times 0.309, which gives that particular outcome. Okay, and this is a very long figure. Now, let's capture what it is. Copy and paste it here. Then we shall do some simple, this time let's take 10 figures. This is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, 10 figures. So the rest I'm going to remove. Okay, I can see when the font has already changed. I don't know what font this one is. Let me check and see. I want it to be what I've always used. Yeah, it's okay now. That's fine. That's what I want. So now we have got Pn. So back to our formula here. The formula which forced us to get Pn is here. So now we're going to get 1 minus Pn. You know what lambda is? Lambda is 9. Okay, lambda is 9. Alright, so now we're going to get YEF. Okay, so we shall say, okay, what is YEF? YEF, based on the formula we're given here, is equal to that one. So again, now we are putting the real figures. The real figures here, probability is 0.001242976. Okay, so now we are doing this one, and we know our lambda is 9 from the question. So let's see what we are getting here. Okay, this should give me something. So what I'm going to do, I'll just say, okay, 1 minus 0.001242976. Give me that answer there. Then I multiply this one by 9, which gives me that figure there. Okay, this figure here. Okay, so I'm going to capture the way it is. I'm not going to change anything. Okay, so I now have my YEF, or what we call effective arrival rate per hour. Effective arrival rate per hour, because we are restricting number of arrivals to 15, so we cannot have the same arrival rate of 9. Now we have an arrival rate which is restricted to 8.99, which is almost the same as 9 anyway. So now we are going to get our LQ. Right, so we have this one. We place it down here. Alright, so our LQ, LS minus is equal to LQ plus this one, which means therefore we are supposed to rearrange this one. Okay, rearrange it. We shall say therefore our LQ will be equal to LS here, LS minus, okay, what is happening here, minus YEF, okay, divided by mu. Because see, if you do the arrangement, if this particular YF mu goes to the other side, it becomes a minus, LQ remains alone, and we get this new expression here. Okay, now if this is our new expression, therefore, we cannot get LQ, which is the length of the Q. Those people are just waiting to be served. Okay, our LS, based on our earlier computation, is, where did we get it from? It is here, 2.21. So we shall pick 2.21 and place it here. Okay, we shall place it here. 2.21, and we have our YF here, which is this figure here. We have a very long figure here, so just copy it and paste it here the way it is. See, our mu is known, is 13 from the question. So after doing this particular expression, we shall be able to get us an answer. Okay, what has happened now? Yeah, so we're going to get now our LQ. Okay, so our LQ, so we shall say 2.21 subtract, open brackets, 8.9888136,516 divided by 13, close the brackets, say enter. we have 1.518552 etc. So if I copy this one and I paste it the way it is, I just want to pick the first three figures because it's my final answer so far. Okay, so you can see it becomes in the 1.519, which is not very far from the 1.558 we got earlier from the infinite Q length. This is the finite Q length, which is 1.519. So again, our answer will not change. Okay, so this will be maintained. Okay, they'll be maintained up down here. Okay, because based on our computation, there's no significant difference between the two computations, though this one is a bit lengthy and there's a lot of many formulas in it. Okay, but that should not scare you. As you can see, we are having almost the same answer. But I'm not saying every question should be like this, so it is important for you to do all these computations to ascertain whether the solutions will be the same. Okay, so that's very important. Now that is C and D covered. Now let's go look at another question. E, what is the average waiting time in a queue? Average waiting time in a queue is WQ from our previous definition. Okay. Okay, so average waiting time in a queue is our, let me see here, what is this? Okay, that's fine now. So this is part E, average waiting time in a queue. I have to be looking at WQ. There's a formula for this, okay? And based on finite queue length, WQ is given to you like this one here, WQ. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do it. Where are you? Here you go. So the formula is that LQ equals to lambda WQ. Okay, so we already have LQ, so we shall say therefore, okay, based on this, therefore, WQ will be equal to what? Will be equal to LQ, okay, divided by lambda, like that. So get your LQ. LQ is 1.558 here, so divide by here, that's it. So bring this one here, copy, paste it down here. So this is 1.558 divided by lambda, which is actually 9. Okay, this gives us, if you get a calculator, okay, what do we have? I'm confusing things here, sorry about that. If you look at this expression here, LQ is equal to lambda WQ. If I'm looking for WQ, it becomes LQ divided by lambda. It becomes LQ divided by lambda. Okay, so just a minute. Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. So we shall get a calculator here. First, just a minute. It's correct. It's very correct. Very correct. Very correct. Okay. So if I do get a calculator here, we shall see that it becomes 1.558 divided by 9, which gives us 0.1731111 hours. Okay, 0.17311 hours. Okay, hours. Now, if you turn this into minutes, okay, if you turn it into minutes, just multiply it by 60. Okay, multiply it by 60, which gives us 10 minutes, 10.4 minutes. So roughly 10 minutes, okay? So roughly 10 minutes. So what does this mean, therefore? What does this mean therefore? It means that the time taken for a student to wait in the queue for his time to be served is 10 minutes. That's for the finite, so for the infinite queue length, okay, for the infinite queue length, okay. All right, now we shall do the same procedure for the finite queue length, and we see if we get the same answer. Our LQ is 1.519, so I shall put it here, 1.519. If we are to divide 1.519 divided by 9 itself, we got 0.168777777, so probably it becomes 16877777778 hours. Okay. Now if I to multiply this one here by 60, it gives us again 10.12, which is roughly the same, 10 minutes. Okay, roughly 10 minutes. So really, the answer does not really change much. Okay, so you can see there's no big difference between a finite queue length and infinite queue length. All right, that is as far as E is concerned. Now let's go to the last question. I think the last question is F. How much time is the student expected to spend in this queue? Get registered and leave. That is WS. Waiting time in the whole system. Waiting time in the whole, so we are supposed to get F for WS. So again, the formula is not very far from what we already have. Okay? So we shall have, this becomes LS equals to WS. Okay? In which case, we shall have this WS therefore, which is the waiting time in the system, will be equal to LS divided by that. Okay, so if that is the case, then we're supposed to determine our LS. Okay, so we shall supposed to get our LS. So we have to write that now. Okay, yes, LS. No, not this one. I want this one to be replaced here. Yes, so that is the formula we have. So what is our LS? Our LS we computed earlier is 2.25. It is here, 2.25. So bring 2.25 and put it here. 2.25 divided by 9. What else do we get? So get the calculator again. We repeat the procedure. 2.25 divided by 9, which gives us 0.25. Okay, 0.25 hours. So if you are to put it in terms of minutes, it becomes times 60, which gives us 15 minutes. Okay. Right, so we shall say the time taken for a student to wait in the queue, okay, get served and leave the system, get served and leave the registrar's office is 15 minutes. It's 15 minutes. Okay. So which means waiting in the line 10 minutes, 5 minutes get served and you leave. Okay, 5 minutes you get served and you what? And you leave. Now let's see if you're going to get a similar answer this way when we have a restricted queue length, or what we call a finite queue length. What is our LS? Our LS we computed is 2.21. It is here, 2.21. So we come and put 2.21 here and see if the figures are going to change. If you say 2.21 divided by 9, what do we get? 0.245555555. You know, 4555 recurring. Question is, let's give us 15 minutes. Multiply this one times 60. What do we get? 14.7 minutes, which is roughly 15 minutes. So you can leave the way it is, okay? 14.7 minutes, which is roughly 15 minutes. So that is our set of answers in this particular set of questions that we have been handling. And what you're supposed to remember are the formulas and how they are applied and how they're interpreted at the end of the day after you have finished applying them. Okay? Yeah. So do as many questions as possible, practice, okay, and you'll be able to excel in this area of queuing models. Alright, so I wish you all the best in your different endeavors. This marks the end of our discussion. Till next time, when we are going to look at the multiple server models.